Hi, is this Aaron Binder?
Hi, this is Aaron. Yeah.
Hi, Aaron. It's Lily Camacho. I'm calling from News Media Print News.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
No, I'm familiar.
okay, great. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm really interested in speaking to you about this commercial rent. I saw this press release that you sent out.
hmm Yeah. What can I
So
tell you about it?
I have a few questions here that I'll just ask you, and we can talk through a little bit about what you're asking for and some of the details, if you can help me flesh out my understanding of the story.
Sure.
Great. So I saw on the press release that there is a real problem about rent being an issue, especially with this backdrop of economic stressors. Can you explain exactly what the problem is with commercial tenancies in Ontario?
Yeah, there's a fundamental issue here, and what we're seeing right now is that post-pandemic, it's accelerated, it's been amplified, but even pre-pandemic, there were a lot of issues facing local business owners, especially retailers and businesses in industrial parks. Um, just to give you a bit of a background, there are two types of general tenants in Ontario and Canada. One is residential, they have a lot of protections. And then commercial and industrial renters, they basically got none of the protections that residential renters have. So, just to give you a background there, landlord can increase the rent by any amount between leases. They can basically impose any kind of clauses within those leases. And the bargaining power that a business owner has is actually quite minimal because often they'll be negotiating against a big time landlord, like a multi-billion dollar company who have a team of lawyers and they're putting out like a 70-page lease document that either will cost a business five to $10,000 to review, or they'll just have to go through it themselves and try to understand the legal language that's being discussed within this lease and hope that they catch any kind of potentially damaging or um, uh, any kind of clauses in there that could, see the rent go up even during the lease. So what we're saying is let's create some basic protections for renters where they have a better footing to negotiate from, where maybe the rent doesn't go up 50% between leases because a landlord wants to increase it by 50% or more. Let's create some dispute resolution tools and let's, this is kind of an interesting one, but if a landlord owes their tenant money, the tenant can't stop paying rent or they can be evicted. So we want to make sure that if the landlord owes the tenant money, that they can stop paying the rent without fear of eviction. So these are just basic protections that are addressing some very long-term, long-standing concerns within the commercial leasing space.
Oh, wow, that's curious. I had no idea. I'm a renter as well, and I really appreciate the rent cap. My rent is capped.
Yeah, and that's one of the big issues that a lot of businesses face. And I can give you many examples of restaurants in any part of Canada. Once they start gaining a little bit of popularity, when they go to renew their lease with that landlord, the landlord might pick up on this popularity and assume because this restaurant has become popular, they've got all this money in the world. Restaurants are very tough businesses to be successful with, even if you're the hot restaurant of the day. So that landlord will raise the rent 50 or 100%, and then inevitably that restaurant closes or moves somewhere else. And this actually has happened according to our 2022 commercial rent report to over 50% of businesses. They've either moved or closed because of a large rent increase. So we think that a little bit of fairness will go a long way to keeping these successful businesses either in operation or in the neighborhoods that that they're finding their success in.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Uh, I to help me understand this point because so I understand the costs are going up for businesses, But your press release also talks about, economic stressors and costs rising. So aren't the costs going up for landlords as well? Isn't it fair that the landlords are raising prices if their own mortgage costs are going up or costs of operation, et cetera?
Yeah, and that's a point that we certainly empathize with, and we understand that the rental market it fluctuates, it goes up, it goes down, but we've never actually seen rent go down. So, to give you a current example, like we're looking at a situation now where yes, interest rates have gone up, so mortgage costs will naturally go up. But when you're talking about maybe a 2% increase in a mortgage cost, that doesn't necessarily equate to a 50% rent increase for the business rent cost. In Toronto, between quarter three 2022 and quarter three 2023, landlords increased the rent an average of 32%. That's an
Wow.
average
Hmm.
increase for
Wow.
retailers. So you talk like Queen Street West, you talk Yorkville, you talk all these different neighborhoods. That's an average rent increase in a single year. I doubt any landlord's mortgage cost has gone up 32%. So what we're talking about is just an opportunistic model that only favors these landholders, and the goal of a landlord is essentially to create the largest amount of profit over the longest period of time. So, what that means is they generally want to attract chain stores. Chain stores will sign a 10-year lease or even a 15 or 20-year lease. So, that pushes out a lot of these smaller, perhaps slightly riskier, locally owned businesses, but it also destroys the integrity and the nature of a neighborhood. So if we want our neighborhoods to thrive and survive, if we want our local businesses to thrive and survive, we need these landlords to play fair, and we can't expect them to do that without any kind of regulation. So simple regulations will help level that playing field and give local retailers and local business owners a solid footing to negotiate from and make sure that they're able to continue operating even when they're successful and their landlord thinks they might be able to increase the rent by 50%. So we're talking about simple protections that will maintain the integrity of our main streets.
Can you just summarize those simple protections for me again? I just want to make sure I got them.
Yeah, so our commercial renter bill of rights is the right to dispute resolution, affordable dispute resolution. It's the right to a standard lease. It's the right to predictable rent changes, and it's the right to withhold rent.
Okay, thanks. Do you know of other organizations that are asking for these regulations?
We're the only one in Canada, depending on the country or the state or even the city level across North America, in Europe, Asia, other parts of the world. Especially in Europe, there tends to be a more regulated market there. So you see local retailers staying within their neighborhoods for decades at a time without even having to worry about whether or not they're going to see a 50 or a 100% rent increase. So we want to provide that kind of stability for retail businesses, for industrial businesses in Canada. And we think that this will help unlock the economic opportunities in those communities. Those businesses will be able to plan longer term. They'll be able to hire people with better pay, with benefits, because they'll have a better understanding and a better pathway forward. And they'll be able to project their own business better because of this. So we're talking about the stability of main streets. We're talking about good local jobs. And we're talking about making sure that Canada's productivity levels are able to get back to where they once were.
Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Anything else? I would just add a couple of things here. Number one is like we're not anti-landlord. In fact, I think most landlords would look at these kinds of regulations as a welcome addition to their own businesses. We're talking about making it easier for them as well. A lot of these are relationship building tools that benefit both parties. So we think that on the surface and when you dive in, there's a lot of benefits to both parties. There's a lot of benefits to the governments here. And if we really want to unlock Canada's productivity, we need to make sure that our businesses can plan successfully. And this is just one of those basic building blocks, our commercial renter bill of rights, that will help do that for every business, every community in Canada.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Aaron. That's great. Where can I email you if I need to clarify anything that you said?
You can reach me at aaron@betterwayalliance.ca. You've got my phone number, of course. And if you need a connection to any of our business members that have gone through an experience with their landlord, they're happy to chat with you as well.
Okay, yeah, I might take you up on that. Great, yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you for speaking to me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.